start. MTC. Unit 04 No analysis. When it comes to the decision to get more exercise, you are setting goals that are similar to running a half marathon with very little training. You make a decision to buy a gym membership and decide to spend an hour at the gym every day. Well, you might stick to that for a day or two, but chances are you won't be able to continue to meet that commitment in the long term. If, however, you make a commitment to go jogging for a few minutes a day or add a few sit-ups to your daily routine before bed, then you are far more likely to stick to your decision and to create a habit that offers you long-term results. The key is to start small. Small habits lead to long-term success. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04 No 01. Too many officials in troubled cities wrongly imagine that they can lead their city back to its former glories with some massive construction project, a new stadium or light rail system, a convention center, or a housing project. With very few exceptions, no public policy can slow the tidal forces of urban change. We mustn't ignore the needs of the poor people who live in the Rust Belt, but public policy should help poor people, not poor places. Rust Belt. Shiny new real estate may dress up a declining city, but it doesn't solve its underlying problems. The hallmark of declining cities is that they have too much housing and infrastructure relative to the strength of their economies. With all that supply of structure and so little demand, it makes no sense to use public money to build more supply. The folly of building-centric urban renewal reminds us that cities aren't structures, cities are people. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04 No 02. Fears of damaging ecosystems are based on the sound conservationist principle that we should aim to minimize the disruption we cause, but there is a risk that this principle may be confused with the old idea of a balance of nature. This supposes a perfect order of nature that will seek to maintain itself and that we should not change. It is a romantic, not to say idyllic, notion, but deeply misleading because it supposes a static condition. Ecosystems are dynamic, and although some may endure, apparently unchanged, for periods that are long in comparison with the human lifespan, they must and do change eventually. Species come and go, climates change, plant and animal communities adapt to altered circumstances, and when examined in fine detail, such adaptation and consequent change can be seen to be taking place constantly. The balance of nature is a myth. Our planet is dynamic, and so are the arrangements by which its inhabitants live together. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04 No 03. The vast majority of companies, schools, and organizations measure and reward high performance in terms of individual metrics such as sales numbers, resume accolades, and test scores. The problem with this approach is that it is based on a belief we thought science had fully confirmed, that we live in a world of survival of the fittest. It teaches us that those with the best grades, or the most impressive resume, or the highest point score, will be the only ones to succeed. The formula is simple: be better and smarter and more creative than everyone else, and you will be successful. But this formula is inaccurate. Thanks to new research, we now know that achieving our highest potential is not about survival of the fittest but survival of the best fit. In other words, success is not just about how creative or smart or driven you are, but how well you are able to connect with, contribute to, and benefit from the ecosystem of people around you. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04 No 04. The psychology professor Dr. Kelly Lambert's research explains that keeping what she calls the effort-driven rewards circuit well engaged helps you deal with challenges in the environment around you or in your emotional life more effectively and efficiently. Kelly Lambert. Doing hands-on activities that produce results you can see and touch, such as knitting a scarf, cooking from scratch, or tending a garden, fuels the reward circuit so that it functions optimally. She argues that the documented increase in depression among Americans may be directly correlated with the decline of purposeful physical activity. When we work with our hands, it increases the release of the neurochemicals dopamine and serotonin, both responsible for generating positive emotions. She also explains that working with our hands gives us a greater sense of control over our environment and more connection to the world around us. All of which contributes to a reduction in stress and anxiety and builds resilience against the onset of depression. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04-05. Personal blind spots are areas that are visible to others but not to you. The developmental challenge of blind spots is that you don't know what you don't know. Like that area in the side mirror of your car where you can't see that truck in the lane next to you, personal blind spots can easily be overlooked because you are completely unaware of their presence. They can be equally dangerous as well. That truck you don't see? It's really there. So are your blind spots. Just because you don't see them, doesn't mean they can't run you over. This is where you need to enlist the help of others. You have to develop a crew of special people, people who are willing to hold up that mirror, who not only know you well enough to see that truck, but who also care enough about you to let you know that it's there. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04-06. Many of the leaders I know in the media industry are intelligent, capable, and honest. But they are leaders of companies that appear to have only one purpose, the single-minded pursuit of short-term profit and shareholder value. I believe, however, that the media industry, by its very nature and role in our society and global culture, must act differently than other industries, especially because they have the free use of our public airwaves and our digital spectrum, and have almost unlimited access to our children's hearts and minds. These are priceless assets, and the right to use them should necessarily carry serious and long-lasting responsibilities to promote the public good. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04-07. You meet many different kinds of people in your life. Sometimes you run into those who are full of energy, and you wonder if they are from the same planet as you. After a closer look, you realize that they too face challenges and problems. They are under the same amount of pressure and stress as you. One word makes a world of difference: attitude. Attitude is your psychological disposition, a proactive way to approach life. It is a personal predetermination not to let anything or anyone take control of your life or manipulate your mood. Attitude allows you to anticipate, excuse, forgive and forget, without being naive or stupid. It is a personal decision to stay in control and not to lose your temper. Attitude provides safe conduct through all kinds of storms. It helps you to get up every morning happy and determined to get the most out of a brand new day. Whatever happens, good or bad, the proper attitude makes the difference. It may not always be easy to have a positive attitude, nevertheless, you need to remember you can face a kind or cruel world based on your perception and your actions. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04-08. Recording an interview is easier and more thorough, and can be less unnerving to an interviewee than seeing someone scribbling in a notebook. But using a recorder has some disadvantages and is not always the best solution. If the interview lasts a while, listening to it again to select the quotes you wish to use can be time-consuming, especially if you are working to a tight deadline. It is often more efficient to develop the technique, using a recorder as backup if you wish, of selective note-taking. This involves writing down the key answers from an interview so that they can be transcribed easily afterwards. It is sensible to take down more than you think you'll need, but try to get into the habit of editing out the material you are not going to need as the interview proceeds. It makes the material much easier and quicker to handle afterwards. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04-09. If you're an expert, having a high follower count on your social media accounts enhances all the work you are doing in real life. A great example is a comedian. She spends hours each day working on her skill, but she keeps being asked about her Instagram following. Instagram. This is because businesses are always looking for easier and cheaper ways to market their products. A comedian with 100,000 followers can promote her upcoming show and increase the chances that people will buy tickets to come see her. 10. This reduces the amount of money the comedy club has to spend on promoting the show and makes the management more likely to choose her over another comedian. Plenty of people are upset that follower count seems to be more important than talent, but it's really about firing on all cylinders. In today's version of show business, the business part is happening online. You need to adapt, because those who don't adapt won't make it very far. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04 number 10. Comma. Think of a buffet table at a party, or perhaps at a hotel you've visited. You see platter after platter of different foods. You don't eat many of these foods at home, and you want to try them all. But trying them all might mean eating more than your usual meal size. The availability of different types of food is one factor in gaining weight. Scientists have seen this behavior in studies with rats. Rats that normally maintain a steady body weight when eating one type of food eat huge amounts and become obese when they are presented with a variety of high-calorie foods, such as chocolate bars, crackers, and potato chips. The same is true of humans. We eat much more when a variety of good-tasting foods are available than when only one or two types of food are available. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04 number 11. Comma. A Princeton study by Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman found that once a person earns $75,000 per year, the emotional benefits of income wear off. Daniel Kahneman, Princeton 75,000. He analyzed more than 450,000 responses to the Gallup Healthways Well-Being Index, a daily survey of 1,000 U.S. residents conducted by the Gallup organization, and discovered that emotional well-being rises with income but not beyond an annual income of $75,000. Gallup 1,000, Gallup Healthways 450,000, 75,000. What is the significance of $75,000? 75,000? It's not a magic number. It appears to be the income considered adequate to meet people's basic needs. And the researchers found that lower income did not in itself cause sadness, but made people feel more burdened by the problems they already had. In other words, that old saying money can't buy happiness turns out to be true. MTC. Good job. Let's start. MTC. Unit 04 number 12. Comma. When you enter a store, what do you see? It is quite likely that you will see many options and choices. It doesn't matter whether you want to buy tea, coffee, jeans, or a phone. In all these situations, we are basically flooded with options from which we can choose. What will happen if we ask someone, whether online or offline, if he or she prefers having more alternatives or less? The majority of people will tell us that they prefer having more alternatives. This finding is interesting because, as science suggests, the more options we have, the harder our decision-making process will be. The thing is that when the amount of options exceeds a certain level, our decision-making will start to suffer.